Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the A to Z Dotabuff Top 100 Replay Review Series. This is episode 6, and the hero is Bane. If you're looking at your screen, you may have noticed that this is not a pub match. This is actually an official match between Cloud9 and Fire. And the reason we're looking at this pro match instead of a pub match is because when I was looking at the top 20 or so Bane players, I saw that half of them were sort of pros with 40 to 30 games in the hero, and they sort of fucked around in their pubs. They didn't really play him as a normal Bane player would. They sort of go mid, buy weird items like Dagon, and those games are no good to look at. And the other half were Bane spammers, but they sort of had not so impressive win rates, and they didn't really play at a skill level that I liked when I watched their replays. So I had a really hard time finding a player and a replay to watch and show you guys. And I asked Owie2000 about this, and I asked him who he thought the best Bane player in the world was, and he told me that it was Misery. So I'm just gonna trust him on this because he's one of the best players in the world, and he's won a lot of Dota tournaments and stuff like that. And if he thinks that Misery's Bane is the best he's ever seen, then who am I to argue with him, right? So we're just gonna watch this match. I'm sorry it's not a Dotabuff Top 100 player, but I assure you that if Misery actually played Bane in his pubs, he would be on that list. So anyway, sorry for that long introduction and explanation, but I wanted to sort of clear up any confusion you might have had. So we're going to look at this Bane replay, and we're not going to focus too much on like the team play. We're still going to do mostly just the hero ability usage, item builds, skill builds. Not really going to comment on sort of the stuff that happens in a professional match, like what you saw right there where they all ran bottom at the same time. That's not going to happen in your pub matches, so I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, his starting items were Courier. He bought the wards, and he bought two branches and a tango and a clarity. He did pull the tangos to his mid, and looks like they're going to secure both runes. Bane is a super strong level 1 hero. He has some of the best base stats in the game, 22 for each. Really high movement speed and really high armor, as well as high base damage and very good abilities for level 1 fighting. So when you're playing Bane, make sure to always fight around the rune at minute 0. You can usually just win the fight for your team just because you're so good at level 1. And you saw because they had Bane and Wisp, they secured both runes, so really good for Cloud9 already getting off to a good start. And as I mentioned, Bane super strong level 1. This makes it so that you can trade with pretty much every hero and zone them out effectively. And it looks like there was a very deep nightmare, but Fogs manages to shift the spell onto his treants, so very well played. But as you can see, Misery being super aggressive, just trading with his Bristleback, trading with the Furion, just zoning them out, making them pressured in the lane. And if you notice how he set up that first nightmare, and we'll see probably another nightmare in this lane as well, he used it when his teammates were still pretty far away. So right here, the Tiny and the Wisp are still like close to the river, but he's nightmaring their Bristleback at the T1. And they get some nice harass on the Bristle, bring him pretty low. But don't forget that Nightmare has a 4-second duration. Very long for setting people up. And you can use it even if your teammates are pretty far away because of just how long it is. Your teammates will be able to easily get into range. So it looks like he's going to go harass the Furion. He did go for Brain Sap level 2. The item build is, the skill build is pretty standard. Nightmare 1, Brain Sap 2. Sometimes you go for Enfeeble if you're doing the thing where you sort of camp the mid lane and just enfeeble the other mid laner to win your lane for your team. But since he is doing this aggressive tri lane, he doesn't need Enfeeble, and I doubt he will get it anytime soon. So it looks like a go on the Bristleback. Goes for the Brain Tap immediately. And just getting some right clicks in. And he's trying to Nightmare, but I think he's getting fogged. Unfortunately, the Bristle does get the first one and the double kill before he goes down. Now, it may seem odd why he didn't Nightmare immediately when the Bristle was still in the open. But I'm just going to say that Nightmare is an extremely hard spell to use properly when you're not setting up for a gank. Like, you're not just setting up, going to a lane and just Nightmaring someone and they get arrowed or something. In the middle of a fight, it's extremely hard to use because sometimes if you time it improperly, it can help your enemies more than it helps your team. Sort of like a disruption. It can potentially save your enemies from spells, auto attacks, things like that. And I think the reason why he didn't Nightmare the Bristle there is because the Bristle was already tangoing up, and that already gives him plus 14 regen a second with his base regen. And Nightmare is only 20 pure damage a second. So would have done 6 damage a second, would have had that 1 second invulnerability that Nightmare gives you when you cast on someone. And it would have stopped a few auto attacks that were coming in. So he was sort of keeping track of how much damage and how much it would have actually helped the Bristle if he actually Nightmared him. And he decided not to Nightmare there, which I'm not sure if is the correct decision, but definitely a reason for that. You have to really be wary of when you Nightmare someone. So now he's gonna help his team top. Immediate Brain Sap and Nightmare on the Nature's Prophet, but it gets shifted off to the Chen creeps. And looks like he's just gonna run down this Furion. Again, very good movement speed and stats. He has to do this. He has 3 treants and the Chen creep hitting him, but he's just not afraid at all. Really deceptively tanky at the early levels, especially because with the Brain Sap, he sort of just swings. He has like a 300 HP swing at level 3. Just by Brain Sapping someone, he damages them for 150 pure damage and heals himself for 150. So it's a 300 HP swing just at level 3. So really dangerous to fight into Bane at early levels. And it looks like there's a smoke gank here. Now he actually did pick up stats at level 4. I want to say it's a bit surprising. I see most Banes level up Nightmare, but it's understandable this game because I'll talk about it after this gank. So Nightmare on the Zeus, and just gonna set up the EMP, wait for the Invoker to cancel the Nightmare with the Cold Snap, and easy gank. I do see some Banes cancel the Nightmare with just a Brain Sap immediately after their allies are finished setting up, but it looks like he wants to get the most out of the Nightmare damage. Yeah, but I'll talk about the stats. So sometimes you level up Nightmare just because you want more duration, and it's nice to have like a Nightmare that you can sort of take someone out of the fight for 7 seconds in like the mid game. But this game there are Chen creeps and treants, which means the Nightmare is not going to be very effective in a full like engagement because it'll get easily shifted onto a creep instead of a hero. So that's probably the reason why he got stats. Another reason is Bane has pretty big mana problems early. His spells are very high mana cost, and he has trouble sustaining after his before he gets his Arcane Boots. So the stats are just nice. It also sort of extends the period where he's strong because stats are a lot better early. Alright, so level 5, obviously gonna max Brain Sap first, and he is buying all the wards, so a true position 5. We'll see how he plays his first Fiend Script gank. This we go on a Zeus, and just walking into area gold range. Pretty greedy. Alright, so I can't talk about most of these rotations because they're very like teamwork heavy. Like the Wisp is really helping him with these rotations, and they're definitely like communicating, and this is just not stuff that you would see in a regular pub game. So I'm just gonna only focus on the way he's playing his hero. Alright, so he's gonna walk top for the Spirit Breaker, and almost level 6. He's probably gonna get level 6 in lane and go for this gank. Level 6, and we're gonna see him go immediately. Oh, very nice. Drops the ward and immediate grip. Not even gonna Brain Sap Nightmare before to try to save his ultimate. So Fiend's Grip is pretty medium duration, medium cooldown, I would say. Like, it's not really that long. Just blowing it whenever you have a chance for a kill in the early game is just standard play. I sort of want to talk about what he did there. So when he was going for that gank, he dropped a ward right as he was ganking. That's something you should sort of get into the habit of doing as a support. One, it makes your warding a lot less obvious, and two, it's really good to ward places where you know you're gonna fight, and especially good if you can get them in places where you would want wards anyway. So that top lane to protect the jungle, and see the offlane tower. Already a good ward, and they were ganking there anyway, so pretty nice. Alright, looks like he's gonna TP bottom, and almost went for the Nightmare there, but decides against it. Alright, so that's what I was saying before about sort of, it's really like hard. You need like a very good understanding of the hero to sort of time your Nightmares correctly. You saw that he was going for the Nightmare there and he canceled it because he realized that the Invoker and the Undying were already sort of in position. They don't really need the setup, and if he Nightmared there, it would have given more time to Bristle to heal and for his spells to come off cooldown, as well as the Nature's Prophet to sort of position himself better. And if he doesn't need the positioning from the Nightmare, it's really not worth it to cast. And he's going to Brain Sap for some HP there. Brain Sap, the way it works is that you always heal for however much damage it does at that level. So level 4, he always heals for 300 HP, even if the target you're Brain Sapping has less than that. So it's not like a lifesteal or whatever. It always just heals you for 300. So he did pick up Arcane Boots. Really good farm, even though he's buying on the wards. Though he does have 2 kills and 4 assists. Arcane Boots are, I think, almost mandatory on Bane. I've never seen a good Bane not get Arcane Boots. Your mana costs are just too high on that hero, and you really need the mana pool. And we see a pause here. We'll fast forward through this pause. I don't want to sort of make this longer than it has to be. Let me see some all chatting. Probably Fire is probably mad about this match because C9 was playing the America qualifiers, but whatever. Alright, so his ultimate is up. We'll see what he does with this. Just gonna stack this camp for a little bit. Misery is also always buying smokes. Bane is a very aggressive hero, sort of fits his playstyle, because Misery is also a very aggressive player. But you sort of want to get the most out of your ultimate and your ganking potential. Really good setup and lockdown. So he's gonna smoke and run bottom.
Radiant's bottom tower is being attacked.
When you're doing smoke ganks like this as well, it's pretty good to place wards, since your enemies can't really see you walking around. I would like to do a video on warding sometime. Let me know if you guys are interested, but I'm not like too sure about, like, I'm not the best warder myself, but it seems like something interesting to do. As we see immediately, just opening up with the Fiend's Grip, on the Zeus, and it looks like an easy kill. Gonna brain tap for the last hit. Alright, so when you go for ganks like that, you have to keep in mind that Bane has very different cast times for his spells. Nightmare is by far one of the worst spells in terms of cast animation in the game. He has to like sort of pull his hands back and then throw them forward again. I want to say it's like 1 point something seconds. It just takes a very long time, and you can easily have people walk out of range during that time, get fogged, have them like cancel your animation, like the Zeus could have done there. If he saw the Bane raising his hands for a nightmare and he was fast enough, he could have bolted him and reset his animation. So that's why he just went for the immediate grip. If you're not 100% sure, like 110% sure you can get a nightmare off when you're ganking, just go for the grip. It's really, as I said before, not a big cooldown to waste, especially in the early game. Alright, so he does have quite a bit of gold. We'll see what he picks up next. The common items I see are Blink Dagger, Force Staff, BKB, sometimes you get an urn, and if you're really rich, you go for Aghanims or something. But we'll see what he's going for next. He is getting quite a bit of space here. He also is still going for stats. As I said before, with a Nightmare, doesn't make too much sense to get this game due to the summons. But I'm curious as to why he's not going for Enfeeble. The main thing I would say is that most of their heroes are sort of doing either magical damage or sort of spread damage. So Zeus is all magical. Chen sort of does physical damage but with his creeps, so not like a single source. So there's really no good target to Nightmare. Spiritbreaker, most of his damage comes from his bashes, and Furion is still like spread damage and like physical damage from his treants and stuff like that. The only target I would think that is good to enfeeble this game is the Bristleback, but even then he does a lot of his damage from his quills, so that's probably why he's not getting enfeeble. A good thing to do with enfeeble that we probably won't see this game is it's really long cast range, and it does persist through BKB and Manta, or any dispels. So if they BKB after you enfeeble them, they'll still have the enfeeble on them. So extremely important to just cast it in the beginning of a fight on the hero you want the enfeeble on. So even if they BKB or dispel or anything, they'll still have the enfeeble on them. Also a very good Linken's Breaker as well, due to its very long cast range. It looks like they're gonna push top, and it does look like Misery is going for a Blink Dagger. So again, very aggressive item. Blink on Bane is extremely good because it allows you to obviously increase your initiation range and get yourself very good positioning in fights for your ultimate. Your ultimate is actually quite easily cancelled because it is channeling, and it sort of like paints a big red dot on your head since you're like raising your arms and doing that like black sludgy thing on an enemy. So the blink to position yourself better in team fights, really good. You can sort of, if you're fighting around cliffs or whatever, you can even blink onto the high ground and cast it on someone. Even though you will reveal yourself, it makes it a lot harder for people to focus you. That's also the reason why people get BKB on the hero, just to make their ulti uncancelable by the enemy team.
Dire's top tower is destroyed.
And we're going to see Misery walk back to the middle lane. And a gank on the Zeus, who actually went Midas. Is this an A Dota thing? And immediately cast the Fiend's Grip. Really nice, and actually gets the Brain Stab off in time. So, that's what I was saying before. If you're not 100% sure you can get the Nightmare off, just cast the Fiend's Grip. If he went for the Nightmare there, the Zeus probably would have ran into Fog, and that gank wouldn't have worked. So we're gonna see him go for probably a Force Staff next. I don't think BKB is the item this game since they have a Spirit Breaker. But again, he's gonna drop a board where he fights, and no need for Nightmare, just Brain Sap. And get a Nightmare there so that his teammates can catch up, but again, the Vicious Prophet's gonna just fall to the timing. So what you notice about the way he sets up his ganks, one, he always, if he has a ward, he's gonna place it for the gank if he feels that there's gonna be a big fight breaking out. And two, he is very good about using his Nightmare and not wasting it for setup. We see Bone Summon a bit out of position there, but he's gonna go down. And Misery goes down there as well, unfortunately. But what he did there was really nice. So he saw the Undying out of position, and there was no way for him to save him, but he was able to sort of Nightmare him and sort of buy a little bit of time for his team to catch up. Unfortunately, they did get wiped or 3-0'd since they were out of position. But if you ever see your allies in trouble, you can Nightmare them for the 1 second invulnerability and sort of make them have to waste a spell or sort of de-aggro the Nightmare and buy time for your team. You can also use the Nightmare's invulnerability to dodge sort of slow cast times on spells. Like if you see someone like a Leshrac winding up for a Split Earth or whatever, it's really easy to dodge with a Nightmare if your ally is like stunned or whatever. Other things that are pretty easy to dodge with Nightmare, Co-op Ultimate is pretty easy, and just anything with sort of a broadcasted animation is very easy to just Nightmare your ally and save them. Do keep in mind though that Nightmare very long cast time as well, so you sort of have to cast it at the same time that they're winding up for the cast, because your cast time is long as well. So reaction times have to be pretty good. He does pick up a gem here, just a bit more map control. This is something that you probably wouldn't do in a pub, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. Alright, so he's going to group up with his team here, and it looks like they're going to go for a smoke gank. Yeah, just sitting far behind. At this stage of the game, in the mid game, where you're sort of doing fights, we see Yules on the Zeus. He's going to walk up and just Brain Sap him. And immediate Fiend's Grip on the Spirit Breaker when he's going for the ultimate. Very nice. Nightmare on the Bristleback, but yeah, as you can see, like there's an immediate shift off from one of the creeps, so Nightmare not really too useful in fights. But the idea was really good, right? So when you use Nightmare in fights and not for ganks, you want to Nightmare the target that's the most like trouble to deal with and sort of is the most annoying but is not easily killed. So Bristleback fits that description, right? You want to sort of deal with him after you deal with everyone else on the team. You don't want to Nightmare someone who's like easily bursted. Also, the way that he started out that fight, you saw that he was sort of thinking about blinking in on the high ground, so behind the Zeus. And that's something you can do with your blink. Sort of blink on the high ground or like in Flog, just to position yourself better for your ultimate. And it looks like he's going to smoke here and stay outside the Rosh Pit for his team. And he did also buy another item. Let's see what it is. Oh, it was a TP, sorry. But yeah, when you're doing these mid-game fights, always watch your positioning. You need to sort of stay out of fights and do the sort of counter initiation or secondary initiation. Just because your ultimate, if you initiate with it, it's really easily cancelled in a full fight, like 5-on-5 fight. Unless you have a BKB or like a Shadow Blade or Lincoln's or whatever.
Structures are fortified. Dire's top tower is under siege. Radiant's middle tower is taking damage.
Alright, so it looks like there is a sort of death ball push top, but as we see a nice D-ward by Misery. Bane's a pretty good gem holder as well, just because of how survivable he is. And he doesn't really put himself in any danger of dying during most skirmishes. Alright, so we're in a sort of quiet stage of the game. He did pick up a second level in Nightmare. Maybe deciding that, hey, if they don't shift the Nightmare off in one of these fights, it'll be useful. Or maybe he just wants an extra duration just for ganks. I see him, he's gonna hide in the fog here, and looks like they're gonna try to set up on this Nature's Prophet. Again, being very sneaky. And it looks like he's paying for the Wisp and Tiny to go. Bane is not a good solo kill hero. So, immediate just blink grip. And Nightmare on the Spirit Breaker. I actually remember this from watching the DAC qualifiers. Misery was pinging the Spirit Breaker, but Eternal Envy and No-Tail are just like, oh, I'm gonna hit creeps. You're sort of on your own. And they lost a gem because of that too. Sorry, but I just remember watching the qualifiers on Twitch for that, and everyone was laughing because it was a new team and stuff. The communication's probably not so good. Alright, so what was I talking about before? Right, he did pick up the second level in Nightmare, and he did pick up the third level as well. So I'm guessing he just assumes that, hey, maybe sometime it won't get shifted off to a creep, and it'll be useful. Still not getting any levels in Enfeeble though. I still think it's really good late game. I know it's like the strongest early because of how like little damage everyone has. But minus, I think it's 100 at level 4. It's 120 at level 4. Wow, that's a lot more than I thought. 120 is still very, very strong. That's essentially what, 7,000 net worth if you just buy damage like 2 relics. Or an Abyssal Blade plus a level of it. So really good spell even late game. I don't think this game's gonna go super late though. I remember this game. It was probably over in like 30-ish minutes. Alright, so I'll talk a little bit about how he played in terms of map movement, just because there's not too much to talk about anymore. It is pretty quiet. So this is obviously a professional match, so you won't get too much of this in your pub matches, but he was sort of doing this thing where I talked about it in my Abaddon replay, where he was able to sort of solo pressure lanes by himself because he's not easily killed. And as I'm explaining this, there is a fight breaking out, so he does go for the Nightmare on the assault, but just decides to go for the Fiend's Grip. Again, easily canceled by the Spirit Breaker. And manages to get the Nightmare off. Okay, so actually let's rewind this. Sorry about this. Alright, so you see that he doesn't go for the Nightmare when he's walking up the hill and the Spirit Breaker is rounding the corner. He goes for it when he has a straight line of vision. And that's really important because your cast time is very long, so it's really easy to get fogged, as I was saying before. You want to have 100% certainty that you're going to get your Nightmare off, or you waste like a second raising your hands and then they walk out of vision and you're fucked because you could have spent that 1 second walking instead of raising your hands for your Nightmare. Yeah, as I was saying before that fight broke out, he's playing sort of like a solo pressure pusher. If that didn't make any sense, but he's like pushing by himself to create pressure as a support because 1, he's very tanky, 2, he has good disables, and he's very mobile as well, so it's really easy for him to get out of like sort of sticky situations. Like one solo hero can't kill him just like the Abaddon. So he's sort of able to play like that and make space for his team. And we see a Blink Nightmare, just gonna back out.
Dire's bottom tower under fire.
It's really important to know what heroes you can do this on and sort of get away with it. It also depends on enemy team composition as well, but there are certain heroes that just, if you're a support, you can just get away with doing stuff like that, and Bane is definitely one of them, so you should do that in your games. Obviously, don't, like, if there's everyone missing off the map and you're solo pushing, sometimes it's not, sometimes it actually is worth it to just do that and die if you don't have a lot of net worth and you're not feeding too much. But don't, like, just do that all the time and feed, because that's bad. Educational content, guys. Feeding is bad. Anyways, we do see him pick up a Force Staff. Just standard items on Bane. Really helps with positioning again, and just the more mobile you are on this hero, the easier it is for you to get your spells off and be impactful in fights. Also really good for saving heroes. You can sort of nightmare them and force them at the same time. So give them invulnerability and position them out of the enemy. So very strong. And he does pick up another gem, so looks like he's gonna go try to D-ward again. And with the Blink, Force, and Nightmare, it's really hard to just get a hold of him and try to kill him. So I don't think this gem's gonna go down anytime soon. So he is level 14. We'll see if he does go for Enfeeble or just keeps getting stats. So he's walking around. I'm not too sure what else to talk about. I covered sort of casting abilities, map movement, item build, skill build. I'll talk a little bit about the Aghanim Scepter actually, because people don't really buy it, so they don't know the mechanics of it. If you get Scepter, everyone who attacks you automatically becomes nightmared. And I don't know if this was a bug or if this is intended, but you actually still get nightmared even if you're BKB, which is really confusing for me, but could possibly be a bug. But that's really strong. And sometimes if you can pull that off and they don't really know that you have an axe, like the first time you get it, you can sort of disable everyone who's trying to hit you with their BKB on or whatever. It's pretty funny.
Radiant's top barracks are under attack.
As we see the Bane gonna TP in from the side. He may try to catch someone off. We'll see what he does in this situation. So just waiting for his time to go. And blink and grip. That was really good. He made sure that the Chen actually... Oh wow. Alright, I'm gonna blame that on lag, because he is playing from Europe to US servers. He was really slow on the brain tap there. Probably could have killed him. But what he did there was he just waited for the centaurs to sort of back off so that there was nothing to cancel his Fiend's Grip, and then he went on the Bristle. Really nice. He also... Oh, I actually didn't see that. But he dropped his gem before he went in, because he knew he wouldn't need it. So even if he did die there, he wouldn't have lost the gem. Pretty cool play. He doesn't really need the gem for fights. The gem is strictly for dewarding, so no point bringing it into a fight. As we see a really far-range Nightmare. Just gonna set up, and this Bristle's a bit out of position, so he does go down. And surprisingly, he's not gonna blink forward for anyone. Sort of just want to watch his positioning. And nice pick off on the Zeus here. It looks like they're gonna get the Nature's Prophet as well.
An acceptable amount to make there too.
Yeah. You can't do this against a Bane. It's like so easy to catch people with your Nightmare if you have a blink and a force. This is just the advantage of his build. Poor IX Mike. Well, he actually is gonna get both things off. And Misery almost does go down here, but just barely makes it out alive. I'm gonna heal up with Brain Sap. So just the advantage of his build, having so much mobility, really hard to run away from him because you just blink Force and you can Nightmare someone and your team has a total of 7 seconds to catch up. So I guess that is the advantage of this game, of just leveling Nightmare even though there's so many summons. When you are in situations like that, it's just so strong to have max level Nightmare. And Misery is being very good about placing wards out of vision, or like when he's in ganks. Gonna see a ward there, but the whole team is behind him, so he's just gonna run away. Alright, so he did go for stats. Still, he's not leveling Enfeeble. I'm a bit disappointed because we probably won't see it used this game. There was that bug where if you have negative damage, you actually heal people for, like, I don't know if it was if you have lifesteal and negative damage, you heal people, or you damage yourself, or like, it was something like that, but there's like a bug with negative damage. Anyway, pause here, just gonna fast forward through this, because... Alright.
Digital sports.
So he has Blink Force. I'm curious what the next item is gonna be. I want to say like a Yule's or BKB or Lincoln's or something. Probably Yule's is really good just for the extra amount of control and damage. And like movement speed and stuff like that. It's really nice to just be able to like Yule's the Bristle, Nightmare him, and then have like Yule's off cooldown or Nightmare off cooldown like 5 or 6 seconds later. See a blink, immediate grip, and looks like you're gonna get this Nature's Prophet. Unfortunately, there's a fight breaking out near the Roshan pit, and looks like Fada and 1-7 didn't get killed. Alright, blink, Brain Sap, and just gonna kite the Spirit Breaker around. It's actually really tanky, even though it's 34 minutes in. Look, the Spirit Breaker is pretty scared of him. And he's gonna be able to bring him down. So, ooh, is Zeus going? And Nightmare for 7 seconds. Just gonna walk out of range for any arcs or bolts, and easy kill for his team. So again, this is what happens when you try to like one-on-one a Bane. Why he can be able to... Ooh, actually, good game already. But this is why you can sort of just be by yourself, because Brain Sap is a 600 HP swing between you and whatever hero you Brain Sap. So extremely hard to just kill Bane by yourself, do anything to him by yourself. You really need sort of your team to be there with you. Or at least like one other hero to cancel his like animations or stun him or whatever. So that was the Bane game. It was very different from my previous replays, and I think it was pretty informative. I don't know if we would have gotten the same sort of gameplay from just watching one of the pub matches. I'll try to for sure get a Dotabuff top like 20ish or so. I usually try to stick to the top 20 for the next hero. I think it's Beastmaster. I'm not sure. I actually have a really good Beastmaster player that I know, so we'll try to watch him. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and tell me what you thought in the comment section below. Give me a like, subscribe, whatever, yada yada, random YouTube stuff. Anyway, I'll see you guys for the next hero.